Okay, so today what I want to do is I want to talk about lighting a giant outdoor scene at night with 5 lights or less. And I think this is a very, very important skill to learn to figure out, because I think all of us out there, inevitably, if we're shooting independent film, are going to be told we have limited crew, limited budget, limited equipment, and we've got to shoot this giant outdoor scene at night, which is one of the most difficult things to get done to look well. And I think the other good thing about this, if you learn how to do this on a limited budget, I think this will translate up to bigger budgets. Now, just so you know, I was shooting a recent short film and we had no condors. We had no kind of ways to get our lights up high. We had one combo stand among all of us. So it's all C stands and a couple of small lights. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk about how we're able to take that very simple setup and get what I think came out to be some pretty good night shots at night. Let's go take a look at it. Okay, so here you go. This is the lighting structure that we had to do. And as you can see right off the bat, this was a bit of a challenge because it's a big structure. This place was pitch black outside and we had no condors, no way to get the lights up. We only had 5 of them and we had a very small crew to try and get around with. Now, what I did here is I basically set this up with the 5 lights. And one thing that I did do on this project, just so you know, is this movie was kind of an homage to these 80s horror movies. So I decided to just embrace that 80s horror aesthetic and become a little more stylized with our lighting. I think it fit well with the budget and it fit well with the motif. So we basically were able to embrace that as part of the shoot. Now I'm gonna come here and show you the breakdown just so you can get a better idea of what we had. And as you can see right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lights outside. Here's my camera. We shot it on a Canon C80. And I had one more 5th light in here. And if you look inside this little Aperture B7C, that's just a little light bulb light. I just put it here inside the window right here because I just wanted to have just a little bit of warmth emanating from the light itself. So that's essentially what that was. But if you go down to the rest of it, you will see that this essentially comes down to 4 lights outside. So let's break these down light by light to tell you how they work for the structure. Now, the first thing I had to confront when I was doing this is I needed some way to cut this out from the complete blackness that there was out. So one thing we did is we took a 600D and I just put a 600D right back here in the woods. Now, in an ideal world, this light actually would have been more up here and shining down in this direction. But as I said, we didn't have any condors, so we couldn't do that. So we had to put the light down here and we had to shine up. Now, the reason why I did this was for 2 factors. The first thing is you can see the outline here of the house. I wanted to make sure that we could cut this light up because you need to see it. And so what I did is I took the 600, which was down here, and what I did is I shot it up here into the trees. And that does a couple of important things. The first thing is it gives me this texture back here so you can see we're in the woods, and it also gives me the shape and dimensions of the building. This was very, very important to do. And this was as simple as putting a 600D back here and we put it on a combo stand and we just shot up into the night sky. So this thing is shooting up right here, getting that, and this is giving me this shape here on the back. Now, once I had the building cut out, I really needed to start focusing here on the front of the building to make it look good. And one thing, because I couldn't get the light up high, like once again, as I said, the ideal way would put a light source up here. We would have the light shining down and we could diffuse it. Maybe we could put a big silk or a 12 by coming through it just to do it. So the light, we have something like this and the light is super diffused. But that wasn't an option for us. We didn't have any silks. We didn't have any condors. So we had to be creative. So what we ended up doing is I ended up using one light, and that was the Aperture 600D, but here's the key. I used an Aperture lantern on the front of it. And what the lantern does is a lantern gives you a nice, big, soft, diffuse light source. And what that soft, diffuse light source did, as you can see here, if you look at the light here, you see how it has a very, very soft roll-off here in the thing. It just gradually rolls off and fades. And that's what that diffusion of the Aperture lantern does. It's not very big, but it is soft just by nature. And even though my light was soft away, the diffusion was enough to still give me some softness in there. And what I also did is not only did I put the lantern on there, I put it here behind this copse of trees because I wanted to do 2 things. One, I wanted this light to be broken up. So as you can see, the light is essentially using the trees here as a cookie. And this breaks up the light. And this was super important because we put the light here to the side because we want this light as it comes in to hit the building from this direction. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to hit these trees because I knew it was going to give me shadows and texture right around here. And that shadows and texture is really, really important in breaking up the look of the flat base of the barn. So using the natural environment, using those trees, I was able to give me a nice breakup of look. Now, the next thing I really had to worry about was here in front of the barn. There are characters that come walking here along to the barn. So I needed to show them, and I also wanted to give some texture and life here to these plants and vegetation. And as you can see right here, we have these plants right here, and the characters would walk kind of along here to the front. So I wanted to have a light that would help them differentiate and stand out here along the path. So what I did for that is we just used an Amaran 300C, and what I did is I just blasted it here with a reflector dish, basically, and we just punched it right into here. And what it did is it hit all the little foliage right here and gave me a nice thing. The other thing it did is when the character would come walking up, it would hit them and give them a nice outline. And, as you can see, this Amaran 300C is giving us a nice outline right there, and I have it spread out so it is hitting all the way back along the path. It gives me a more natural looking look right here, and as the character comes walking up, they're able to be lit so you can kind of see what's going on. So it's very, very important to have. And then really the last thing that I wanted to set up here was I did want to get a little bit of life here on the actual side of the barn itself. Is a little too black. So what I did for that is I had an Godox MS60R on a lantern. Again, that was the second part of it. And what that lantern, it just bounced a little bit of light here. I just essentially kissed the side of the barn right here. This is what I was essentially hitting. I just wanted to really emphasize that structure without calling too much attention. I just needed to be very, very subtle. And it also, if you look here, this also helps separate these bushes a little bit too. So it gave me a second thing. It wasn't much, but I felt that really brought the whole scene together. And then really, that was the setup. It was that simple. Now, there is one other thing that I can't show you. I can't show you the footage from the film because that's still editing. This is why this is freeze frames. But I did have one other thing. There was a little candle that we had right here burning, and that gave me a really nice pop of warmth that served as a color contrast to the cooler look. So I had this color contrast here of a candle and this B7C up here, and this B7C was at 3200 just to counter out the 5600 Kelvin lights. And that's really the other thing I would say is that because I was going for an 80s horror vibe and we had 600Ds, which are 5600 Kelvin lights, I did shoot this at the lights at 5600, but I wanted to make this a little cooler, so I did set my Canon C80 to a 4700 Kelvin temperature just to make the lights feel a little more of that 80s blue horror type look. So anyway, guys, there you go. That is how you take a very, very simple, let's be honest, a 4-light setup. We'll say 5 because we added one inside, but with 5 lights, you can light a giant exterior with a very, very small budget and a very, very small crew. Anyway, guys, I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Leave me notes and comments down below. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.